Let's talk supply chain. So, welcome to the show, Sneha.
Hey Sarah, I am so excited to be on this side. I have been like literally my journey with you and Let's Talk Supply Chain started with watching these series. And I've seen like countless women leaders talking supply chain, their journeys. It's been inspirational. And just being on this side, man, I am so full. Like I feel great. So thank you so much for having me today.
That makes me feel so happy. And honestly, I feel like everything happens for a reason, but I feel that like this is a long time coming. You joined us on the panel of Blended back in
Yes.
September last year when we were talking all about immigration and identity, and you were a fascinating guest. And I've always loved watching you on the digital stage, sharing your supply chain knowledge in a variety of different ways on a variety of different platforms. And you and I have created a bond and a friendship that I really do treasure. And so I'm really looking forward to putting the spotlight completely on you and finding out much more about your story and your incredible career. So let's just dive in and get started. As always, on this show, let's take it back to the beginning. You're originally from India. What was your experience like growing up there, and how and why did you move to the US?
Sure. It's nice, because you take me back there, and there's just so many memories that like literally spring back. But I grew up in a small town in India, and it's famous for the Tatas. Have you heard of the Tata
No.
brand? It's like they are the biggest steel manufacturer. And
Okay.
so that city is actually called the Tata Steel City. It's kind of branded as that, as a steel city. So I grew up in Steel City, and I still like again, I talk a lot about manufacturing, so I'll touch a little bit that I still have a vivid memory of when I actually visited the whole steel manufacturing plant. And back then, like, it's too like I was super young, and I was like, just as a school project or something, they took us to a tour. And I still remember how the change and how that process like just amazed me. And I was sitting in the control room, because you really cannot go out on the floor watch, because it's a very heavy manufacturing facility. But I would say that back then I had no idea I would end up doing supply chain and in manufacturing. But
Right.
anyways, so growing up, my mom is still a teacher. She still runs a school, and my dad actually worked in a government company. So really, like, nothing related to supply chain. I guarantee you no one knew what supply chain was. I didn't know
Right.
what supply chain was. But yeah, I mean, but what I did learn from my parents were, the perseverance, and we coming from small town with bigger dreams, and making sure that we got the education that we needed. And of course, I did my engineering in India. I got my degree in electronics and
Nice.
instrumentation. And yeah, I mean, I would say that it was parents were a big influence for both me and my younger brother's journey. And I'm super thankful and grateful for that. And of course, I am in the US right now, but I do miss my childhood memories way back
Yeah.
growing in India.
Why did you move to the US?
Well, thanks to my husband for making me move to the US. But but I have to say, like, for work, I had visited like and lived in Europe for some time. So
Okay.
I was in Sweden, and then I traveled across Europe, which is so unlike me, because honestly, like, to everyone listening out there, I am not an extrovert. I take time. Okay. So and so I had visited other countries. I've lived in for a few months, like a month or two, in China and Shenzhen too. So going
Wow.
out wasn't a super overwhelming experience,
Right.
but I didn't really imagine that outcome in the US. I had never come to the US before. My husband did his MBA here. I met him online, and
Wow.
yeah, and well, of course, through my brother and all, and with through family. But yeah, I mean, so he was here. He had some great things to say. I wanted to do my MBA. I knew that forever, and he had some great things to talk about the universities here. So that's how I ended up here. I did my MBA here, and then of course I am in love with California and United States, and I definitely want to, now with my kids here, we want to. live
Yeah.
here forever.
Well, and we owe a lot to him because we're glad that you're here too. Because if he hadn't have brought you to the U.S., we never would have met. So
Absolutely.
you just talked about having a degree in electronics and instrumentation, and worked as a software engineer for a number of years before starting to pivot. Were you always interested in technology? I mean, unfortunately, it's also still a very male-dominated industry. So, what was your experience like as a woman doing your degree and then being in the workplace in those first few years of your career?
Wow, so much to share, but I have to say, so titles are a little misleading, I would say. So I did my engineering in electronics and instrumentation, and so when I joined Honeywell, that's where I interned, and then I of course continued to work for them. Was pretty much I started in quality. So I was doing like a test engineer, and
Oh,
then
very cool.
what we did was, and what I'm glad that I did was. Um, kind of apply and see what I studied. So it's, instrumentation is about PLCs, closed loop processes, input, output, how you like it's all about communication and all of that, and how do sensor, server, client talk to each other. And that's exactly what I was doing. And when I was in Honeywell, we were looking, they have a huge SCADA system, which is I'm sure you know, but I'm not sure if everyone else knows. It's supervisory control and for data acquisition system,
Okay.
where it's a system that's installed for bigger, say, oil and gas companies, where they sit in the control rooms and see what's going on along in their entire
Wow.
manufacturing lines.
Mhm.
And so what I did was actually behind the scenes work on their HMI, so human machine interface builder, and then literally configure those sensors and servers and see if the communication was happening. So it was very fascinating, and I got to
Wow.
see, I got to learn what really real life things look like. So, and then of course I was while I was doing all of this, it was actually primarily doing QA, quality assurance, that whatever
Okay.
software was built and that communication channel that actually worked with the hardware integration. And so that's how I started my career with Honeywell. And then of course I moved to Schneider, wherein there was a little of procurement because we were doing a lot of R&D stuff, and I got introduced about it, about supply chain, and then I did my MBA. And then of course now, like, it's all supply chain. And thank you to Crane for giving me the opportunity to work in different fields. Like, there's so many tenets of supply chain, and I was able to work in almost all of them. So um, there but then, going back to the other question that you had, that yes, of course, I think, I mean, um i I have to say that, when I started as an intern, I mean, you imagine, just fresh out of college, of course I was the younger one in the group. And I have to say, like, my peers really supported me, and male peers, by
Awesome.
the way. I do not remember. I probably remember one female peer, but my
Okay.
male peer, and my team was just all male
Mhm.
people. And so they supported me, they mentored me,
Hmm.
they helped me a lot. But I have to tell you the other side, and I'm telling you that I am thankful that that happened, and I got some great friends. I made some great friends and mentors, met some great leaders. But then back in the mind, there was some experiences when it came to growing up, when
Right.
it came to my promotion. And even though putting in way more hours than some of my peers, um I still wasn't, of course, seeing that uh growth. And then I moved, of course, I switched companies. But what I would say, that even as women, we grow up with a lot of bias. We just feel this urge of working more hours, being
Right.
more punctual, being like putting, say, 50% extra than what others would do, because you
Yep.
already are, oh, hey, maybe I'm not good enough. Your confidence is already shattered because we are grown up. And I think
Yep.
this is one thing that's common with women across the world, is that all of us actually have grown up with this mentality to think less of ourselves. Do not say sorry for almost everything. I am guilty of that. I say sorry so much. But
Canadians do it too. So I had a double whammy, right? A woman from Canada.
so I would say that it was more me
Yeah.
thinking less of myself, putting a lot more hours than I think I would have needed to see myself grow through my
Thank you
career.
so much for sharing that. I mean, that's a really, really important observation to share. And I think, a lot of people in the audience are really resonating with what you just said there. because I think it rings true for a lot of people. And no wonder you and I get along really, really well because I feel like you've done so many things just to like figure out what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and what you want to do kind of for the rest of your life. And I've kind of done the same thing because I found out that you've also done consulting in sales and marketing before getting a supply chain internship as well. So, talk to us a little bit about that. When did you do this in your career? And then how did you make the pivot? Were you looking for that new challenge and why supply chain?
Oh yes. Well, supply chain is going to be my forever love of my life.
It's
So,
in our
but
blood.
you kind of find out what you love the most.
Mhm.
But honestly, like when I did my MBA, I knew so forever and ever. I think I know that I want to do something of my own
Mhm.
someday, for sure. And so for me to understand every aspect of business is important, right? How does a business run? What are the different fields that is entailed when you want to start your business? And so when you're in the first year of your college, we are taught a lot and we are exposed to about every single aspect of a business, so be it sales and
Mhm.
marketing and supply chain and operations, and and then
Right.
you kind of finance, accounting. Sorry, not a fan of accounting. I learned that in my first semester, but
Oh, that's why we get along so well then, because I'm not either.
I am sorry. It's not that I am not great at accounting. Okay, so it's me. Accounting must be fun for a lot of other people. No offense, man.
Not me.
But yeah, I mean, so during my first year, I was working with. As part of projects like live
Mhm.
projects, we worked with companies to build their sales and marketing model. But what I do remember, like this project that we did, consulting project with Westinghouse, which was amazing. I learned a lot of things. Westinghouse, it's a nuclear company, and
Right.
how did we build a proactive sales model for them? This,
Mhm.
oh my god, like I cannot even remember, like cannot even start telling you how much data they had that
Right.
actually went unused. And so
Wow.
coming from the background that we did, and together we were a team of I think 5 or 6 people, and then bringing all of that together, delivering the package for them on how they could be more proactive in selling. Like it doesn't matter, no matter what facet of business you are. Like many people think, oh, manufacturing has to be like you have to pick up the phone, and yes, you have to pick up the phone, but there's a lot of data driven decisions that you could definitely drive. It like things have changed, and we all know like it's cool
Yeah.
now. So yeah, I mean that was interesting. And then and then I progressed, of course, started learning more about operations, did took modeling classes, like how do you develop the regression model and things like
Mhm.
that. So of course, and plus, as I said, like I knew that I was going to be in operations, because
Mhm.
in a little supply chain when I was in Schneider Electric, because of procurement and things like that. So and then of course, my professor was awesome. By the way, I've done my MBA from University of Pittsburgh, and he's amazing. And um and then yeah, I mean, I interviewed, I landed my internship with Crane in supply chain. By second year, I knew like I love this. And my that internship, like Sarah, I have to say, was
Mhm.
amazing. I had about 4 projects in just 3 months. And
Wow.
all I did was,
That's a
of course, work. I
lot.
was in California. I could have gone to bars more, but I did not do that. I focused on my projects.
On the bars more.
I focused on projects like middle, like right in the middle of LA downtown. Like how
Mhm.
could I not go to bars? But anyways, my husband wasn't here, so, and I didn't have a lot of friends then back then. So I did a lot. I actually like worked my, sorry, can we a off to get my uh
You say the word, I have to mark this as explicit. So let's just not say the word.
okay. So um and I mean, so that was an eye opener of what real life supply chain and manufacturing look like.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that love hasn't stopped and will never stop, I just
It's
feel.
in your blood. I can feel it every time we talk about it. I mean, you just ooze with supply chain passion, kind of like me. And so, what did you learn from your experience at Crane?
um,
Did you just sort of fall in love with supply chain? Like, what did that look like?
I have to say that I have to give it to Crane for giving me that space, believing in me, and then letting me lead multiple facets of supply chain. So SC, as I said, is a huge umbrella, and so starting from actually working design and procurement integrating together, and then that's more strategic, and then you talk about purchasing. So what's the tactical demand planning, supply planning, manufacturing operations, and then how about logistics like warehouse management, and then managing your freight forwarders, all of this. Like, I have to give it to them for growing me so fast there, giving me the opportunity, literally leading the business unit there for all these different buckets, and it managing inventory and whatnot. Like, it just put things so much in perspective. And I think some of the leaders also said that just because you have done inventory, you know the pain, and now you're doing operations, like literally leading the
Yeah.
manufacturing, you know the pain. So, and the pain
Yeah.
is different, because inventory, I want less inventory, but operations, I don't have the right inventory. What's going on? I need to get this order out. Like,
Right.
right, you're always sitting on the hot seat. So it puts things so much in perspective, tells me so much more about that, why shared goals are needed, why we cannot work in silos, why we all have to be orchestrating this for our business goals and things like that. So yes, I mean, being able to do that, and of course it comes with a lot of challenges, but then you learn so much every time you face that challenge.
Yeah, and you're such an asset to a company. I mean, being able to learn all of the different facets of supply chain and immersing yourself into it and really understanding what goes in, what goes out, right? And how it affects the other departments. I talk about this all the time about how important it is to understand your internal stakeholders and understand how supply chain touches every single one of those. And you got firsthand experience to do that. And so not only do you have an MBA from the University of Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
You also have a Six Sigma
Hmm.
belt, I believe, which I
Yes.
don't know too much about. Tell us a little bit about it. Why did you go for it, and what has it done for you in your career?
Absolutely. And so I have to say that I my first Six Sigma green belt was actually with Honeywell. And back then, trust
Okay.
me, I had no idea what Six Sigma was. I just started. But Honeywell has this whole initiative. Don't judge me, I'm sorry, but that's true. Like, I
No,
had just
no
started.
judgment.
I had no idea what Six Sigma was. But then I think Honeywell had this initiative that they wanted every employee to know what processes was. And maybe it was only for our division or something, because we were in home
Okay.
automation, industrial
Yeah.
automation, not home automation. Yep. So so it was important. And so my journey with Six Sigma actually began then, and then I did another Six Sigma green belt with FedEx when I was in my MBA, which was amazing, an amazing project. um, but I suggest that if you are into lean, if you are into process improvement, if you think from the quality lens, I think it's worth it. And Six Sigma is about a project. Like, you do a project, you see things happening. It's not like you are, just reading books and then,
Okay.
you get a
Right.
certification or something like that.
Yeah.
And so this is just me. I mean, you do not have to. It helped me a lot. It's a method that actually gives the organization the tools to improve, your capabilities, and then understand what's the variation. It's important. And
Hmm.
it helps you improve your performance, and reduce the variation in the process, defects reduction, and improve the quality of product services that you're providing to your customers. So it's important. And eventually in this process, ultimately our goal is to reduce cost, right? And so there's so many
Yeah.
benefits. Yeah, improving accuracy, improving your controls, and ultimately that improves your cost. So definitely that. I mean, I do not stress upon degrees and certifications, because I do not think that that's a measure of your intelligence or experience.
Right.
Like, you could have tons of experience and know so much more and have zero degree. So that's definitely not so exactly right. So yes, I have a degree, and I followed the traditional path, I would say, but there are so many amazing individuals out there without any degrees, and
Yeah.
possibly knows thousands times more than people who have degrees.
We are going to talk about that on Blended. And for those of you that are listening to this episode, I literally just raised my hand because I did all of my post secondary education through correspondence and didn't necessarily get, I didn't go to college or university, did some college courses by correspondence, but definitely don't have the degrees that you have. But I made up for it in experience, I
Absolutely.
think. And we're going to talk about that in Blended as well. So what are you doing now? Like, let's come sort of full circle to where you are now. What are you doing now? Who are you
So
working for? What are you doing? Tell us about that.
of course, like in my I am super deep into circular supply chains, and I can
Mhm.
talk a little about that. But of course, with my day work, I'm working a lot into improving operational efficiencies
Okay.
for our distribution centers across the world, that ultimately improves the fill rate of trucks and trailers. So that's interesting. Somehow I'm a little bit into technology and how do we improve, cycle time and those kind of efficiency. So that's important. But I have to talk about this whole my association with circular supply chain network,
Mhm.
and how I actually happen to get associated with them and how much I actually love them. So Deborah Deborah Dahl is the founder of Circular Supply Chain Network, and she was the one who I met, I would say 3 years back. And she was the one literally who introduced me to what circular supply chains was and actually what circular economy was. And simply put, supply chains can power circular economies. I am not sure how aware everyone is about circular economy, but it's pretty much connecting, making sure that your process is now a closed loop, so you are not just looking at reducing waste but actually monetizing waste, so waste of one process becomes an input for some other process. And supply chain is key in this because we orchestrate the movement of your product, actually right
Right.
from design to delivering it to bringing it back, right? We are
Mm.
touching everyone. So
Yep.
why, like, this pretty much is the would be the everything under supply chain will be orchestrating whatever happens to make this whole circular economy happen. But circular supply chain network connects practitioners and thought leaders across the world. And what we do is we explore how supply chains can accelerate your transition to a circular economy,
Mhm.
and the capabilities and technologies that you need to transform your supply chain into a
Amazing.
circular one.
Yeah, and you're doing a lot of work with them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We have built transition models. So if companies are looking to see how what's the new process would look like, how do we actually get there? So that's there. I am working on a toolkit. So with pretty much like creating a toolkit. So say for example, you are a company and you want to see how to get started, where to get started, and
Yeah.
I don't want something super not strategic, super complicated. What are the basic steps that I could take to get there, to start my steps there? And so things
Right.
like that, it's been great. We actually built some very cool videos, quick, like 60-90 minute videos that you could watch and educate yourself. There is actually, we collaborated with Vortex Man, where we have our new comic book that talks a little
Okay.
bit about what circular
Cool.
supply chain is. So check
And
this
that's
out.
good
Yeah.
for the next generation too, because they're always looking for a lot of resources in how do we make the world a better place. And it's such important work. And so thank you so much for, everything that you're doing and for driving change within the supply chain and for letting people know that supply chain really is the key driver to be able to do that. You also have your own project, I think, that you're working on. Did you want to talk about that too?
Yeah, for sure. But definitely would love to dive a little bit into that. What I've been, working in manufacturing, being associated with the shop floor operations and managing that has been a huge um, space of learning for me. And then what I do want to when keep looking at the archaic, obsolete processes, and so much of traditional tribal knowledge imbibed in running your operations day to day was something that amazed me. Of course, right? I mean, on one side, I use iPhone and I'm so connected to technology, but then I'm running a shop for operations where I really have no idea, and I'm praying to God like, hey, will this order get out today? A lot of You would be surprised, a lot of companies actually run their operations today, and especially the small and mid-tier companies whose primary focus is actually getting sales order out, winning customers and revenues, while not many are focusing on the bottom line. and what your cost is. And so what I wanted to do was actually build a system where we could uh, provide customers with a live dashboard where you could actually see what's the heartbeat of your system, what's going on. You could actually manage your scheduling intelligently, because if you are from a high mix, uh, low volume business, you might need some specific skills, and skill matrix isn't always part of your schedule planning. It's very common and it's very needed, because think about it, if you wanted that hot order, that drop in to be fulfilled, and you had 5 people while none of them knew welding, I am sorry, that order didn't go out, and you just lost an opportunity, maybe a potential opportunity to win a year long contract.
Mhm.
So managing your scheduling intelligently, it's very important. Planning is the heartbeat of your operations, and winning, making sure your service levels are met. So I want to make sure that I am able to fill that space with technology, and be able to provide this tool to small and mid-tier manufacturing companies, so they don't need to buy expensive software tools and implement them. They cannot
Mhm.
afford it. A SaaS tool, something very simple. Use it. See if you can see if it adds more value to it, and have your aha moments, find out
Yeah.
what's going on in your operations.
Well, and I think you're open to users right now. So if people are interested in this, get in touch with Shneha because I know she's looking for people to test out the product right now. So do that, do that, do that. And of course, one of the most important trends and something that we're both passionate about is diversity and inclusion, right? Back in 2020, you were selected as one of the operations women leaders by McKinsey for a special event as part of their promotion of women in color in their workforce. And one of the things I'm doing with Blended Pledge is to try and get more underrepresented groups in speaking slots at conferences and events. So, why is it so important to create these opportunities and elevate these voices? And for businesses listening, what can they do, right? How can they follow the lead of brands like McKinsey?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie is doing an amazing job when it comes to DI. Actually, also by the reports they publish and how much they knowledge they actually. Some of them are very eye opening. The numbers that they share in terms of the progress we have made when it came to DI. But I I I have to say that we are in 2022, and I still don't see a lot of companies walking this talk. And yes, we have been great, we have been talking about it more now. Everyone is like, the awareness is there, but I think we need this to be part of your business reviews. There should be KPIs, there should be corrective actions, like, just like how you would measure any other
Mhm.
part of your business. Do it like that's I think that's how seriously it should be taken, and that's how the actions will come. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's very hard to implement the actions that we keep talking about, and it's just about talk. And I mean, we need more women of color. We need to provide them the platforms that you do. Like, for example, Blended, like seriously, like that's a safe space you provide to people like us, who could come there, who could talk about the biases we have faced, and not just as a woman, not just as a woman of color, but immigration. Like, there's a lot of stuff, like there's bias everywhere, for
Hmm.
every little thing that you it's not just
Yeah.
about gender, it's not just about color, it's sometimes about the backgrounds we grew up in. and
Well,
in
and
and as
one of the things, sorry to interrupt, but one of the things that really stuck with me from the blended episode that you were on was when you said that when you go and fill out a form for a variety of different things, but when you go to fill out a form to get a job, the category that you have to choose is Asian
Yep, yep,
because India is a part of Asia,
yep, yep.
but it doesn't necessarily
Rep-
resonate
yes, it doesn't even represent, like, I'm a
or
South
represent.
Asian. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. And in India for many years wasn't even part of, like, when you say Asian, they put some countries. I
Hmm.
don't maybe it was, maybe I ignored it, but anyways, like, it's not me. It's, I that doesn't represent me. And so every part of and every person in this world needs representation. And
Yeah.
there is no reason, there could and never be a justifiable reason um for having any bias against anyone. Like, everyone is
Yeah.
different, and we need to celebrate that. And I mean, I have to say, like, and I when I became a mom, I got introduced to a lot of other set of biases that I wasn't aware of before. So, um, I mean, what all I have to say, like, I can go on and on, like, Sarah, like, honestly, I can go on and on this topic. All I have to say, like, for example, if you see people with some limitations for whatsoever reason, find find ways, and you put them, give them opportunities, so they are able to perform and grow, and at the same time take care of their family, right?
Hmm.
You don't punish people, you don't punish men for paternity leaves,
Right.
right? I don't see any reason why a life change has to do anything with not being able to perform good enough at your workplace. It
Right.
has to be, there has to be in harmony. Every my personal life, my professional life comes together. Either of them getting hampered would not leave me in a good space. Like, it matters. So I mean, high time. Include DEI, as I said, include DEI as part of your
Yeah.
business reviews, and take actions. Walk this talk.
Yeah, and just going back to that key point that you made that's kind of stuck with me, I think we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention to the forms that we're putting out there, whether it's an
Yes.
HR professional or it's a supply chain professional that is in charge of recruiting. What is it that we're putting out there? What is it that we're asking people to fill out? And are we representing everybody and allowing them to feel represented as
Yep.
well? So I love that. And thank you so much for sharing it. So mentorship is one really effective way. They can help those underrepresented groups, right? So have you
Mhm.
had a mentor or mentors during the course of your career, or is there anyone in the industry or maybe out of it that you've really looked up to that inspired you personally or professionally?
I have to, I cannot, I will not name anyone. I have to say that I couldn't have made it without the mentors in my life. Ever since I started my career to where I am today. I mean, moving to the United States, building a life here, it's a new country. I didn't know anything about the people, the place, the culture.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends here. And so all along this way, for me to be able to find out what I needed, what I loved, and how did I pave my path, it was all people. And I have to say, and I'm very proud to say that it was my close community of women who have supported me, who have guided me, who have lended a hand, given me opportunities, and actually boosted my confidence. As I
Yeah.
mentioned in the beginning, I was not an extrovert. And so all I have to say that if I am able to do this today, I have to give it to that community, to that community of women in supply chain or even outside of supply chain. They have inspired me. They are awesome. Like, Sarah, look at you. I'm talking about Sarah Scary. I'm talking about DC, Amanda, Heather, like all of you. I don't want to miss anyone. Like, all of you inspire me in your ways, with your successes, and gives me courage and motivation that yes, we all can do it. And I'm sorry, I have to say, Deborah, too, like, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being an amazing set of women. And I would, for like, if I had to tell everyone who's listening there, ask for it. I would never know that you need help until you ask for it. The least you can hear is no, and it doesn't matter, you were not doing anything about it, and it won't hurt you. But ask for it. Trust me, there are so many people, including me, who want to give back, who want to lend a hand and bring you along with me.
Hmm. Absolutely. I love that. I'm so glad that you shared that. And you know what? You inspire people on a day-to-day basis, and I'm so glad that we're able to capture that in this episode. It's so important for us to be able to hear from different women in the industry and, how we've lifted each other up and how we've empowered, because too many times we hear about women tearing each other down. And that needs to stop, right? The
Absolutely.
practice of it, the habit of it, that needs to stop. Talking about it needs to stop. And we need to really celebrate and talk more about how women, or particular women in general, are, empowering other women as well. So I appreciate you for sharing that. What does the future hold for you? I mean, there's so many things that you have learned and that you're putting into practice and that you continue to learn. So what does that look like for you?
I think you answered my question when you said that you continue to learn. I think I've just started. I think I'll always be with this, the day one mentality kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love changes. I love changes in terms of, learning new things, learning, keeping that spark on. Definitely want to try my hands on every single, like I would say, in fact, different industries, doing code supply chain someday, and I, never say never. That's like my mantra. Like I want to do it. I want, if there's something new shoot in my way, I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna fail. Yes, I have failed, of course. Like the journey hasn't been
Learnings. I don't like, I
exactly.
think we need to X the word failure out
Actually,
of
yeah,
everybody's
I have learned.
vocabulary. We need to turn it into learnings.
Yes. So, I mean, I think I've just started. I know what I do know is I will be in supply chain. I will do something there. I will probably do something of my own someday. But um,
Awesome.
that's all. That's all for me.
So, what advice do you think that you have for girls and women looking to follow in your footsteps?
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's the best question. I mean, that's the highlight of the day. I have to say that believe in yourself. You
Mm,
can do it, and please practice to not say sorry. So
yeah.
practice that. Just be conscious. Do not say sorry. Say.
Hmm.
You will notice you do say. We do say or sorry a lot, and while you are accomplishing great things in your career, toot your own horn. You might not see a lot of
Yes.
people doing that for you, so do it. Be
Mhm.
confident. Talk about yourself. Talk about your successes, and it doesn't matter who thinks you're arrogant or not. You have to do it for yourself, and of course, reach out to people, reach out to this community of women if you need help, if you want to learn, and reach out to especially supply chain folks. It's cool, trust me. We would love for you to join us.
Yeah, and engage on LinkedIn. LinkedIn
Yep.
is one of the most underused platforms, I think, for anybody looking to get into any industry. You can find some fascinating conversations and
Yep.
really connect with people in the comments of posts. And I think you made a really, really good point is that yes, if you are going to do things like this and you're going to you need to celebrate your wins and you need to let people know about that. And LinkedIn is a really, really good place to do that.
Yep.
Too many times I have women on this show for the Women in Supply Chain series, and they don't promote it and it drives me crazy. I get it, but then I really just want them to embrace what they've done and embrace how they've been able to share their journey and that they're going to inspire other people with this particular episode. And so, definitely, definitely important. And so, that was such a pleasure, Shneha. I mean, I really wish that we could keep chatting. You know, as well as I do, we could chat for hours.
Absolutely.
It's been fascinating to hear your story. There was some parts in there that I didn't even know. You've moved industries, you've moved continents, and you do it all with such strength and determination and commitment to growth that it's just really so inspiring. And I've also
Thank
loved
you.
hearing your insights as well from your position as head of industry trends for the circular supply chain. I find it so exciting to talk about where the industry is going and to hear from the people that are such an integral part of leading us all forward. And it's also really heartening to see that issues that are close to my heart, like diversity, inclusion, and sustainability, are going to continue to grow in importance. And these things are the future. So, a massive thank you, Shneha, for joining me today, having the courage to share once again authentically with us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.